Well, for me, it's good because I'm probably better prepared than a lot of people to be isolated, and I like it. Otherwise, I wouldn't live here.
There is already a lot of isolation, and there is already a lot of mental anguish, I guess, that comes with that in rural environments.
My wife's brother was sick. He lives in Melbourne. She went over to Melbourne to look after him when he came out of hospital. I was sort of self-isolating for 2 weeks, and she went into isolation for sort of another 2 weeks. So, it ended up from that point of view being isolated from her for all up 5 weeks.
Very isolated, yeah. I'm used to seeing my friends, at least once a week.
Got a bit lonely. The hardest part, you couldn't stop and yap. And when they talked to me on the footpath, I had to keep my distance.
Anybody who's been isolated, even for those who have been isolated for 2 weeks, they've come out like, oh my God. Can you imagine those in detention centres, who've been there for 7 years? There's always an element of mental health issues.
And I think the first week or 2 weeks of being at home, I felt really anxious, like really I could just feel it in my body.
Everything just feels a bit dull when you don't really have people around you.
I look at some of my friends who have enforced sort of periods of quiet at home who really struggle with the fact that, well, I've got nothing to do.
Routines have been really messed up by this whole thing. Just travelling, even like getting up, I've found I'm waking up a lot later than usual.
I think it's hardest for people who would be just thrust into a totally crowded house where they have to try and put too many hats on, be a teacher, be a parent, work from home with not many devices because we're all so needy of the internet now.
At the moment, I'm doing a lot of origami because I find it really calms my brain, and I don't know, it just is really soothing for me.
Walking, I guess the exercise thing's just kind of gotten to me a bit. It just refreshes me a little bit, like it just, from being inside all the time especially, it just makes me feel calm.
I do miss not having any human physical contact as such. So I think one example was I sometimes do a walk with a friend of mine, and she's just had a granddaughter, her first granddaughter, and she was standing, and I was waiting outside, of course, and they were waving at me through the window. So there was her daughter-in-law and her little granddaughter, and that felt really lonely. That just felt like, there's that separation. I'm really separated from people because they were hugging and kissing and waving. It was lovely, it was just all meant really well. But for me, it was just like, oh God, I have no one.
The relationships that you make with people are important, and I think sort of in times of adversity, it really shows to you who your true friends are.
This whole thing's kind of helped make, in a way, kind of brought people together.
My family and I, we've been estranged for a really long time. I've barely had contact with them. We're all very different. And yet now when we're talking with each other, there's a new level of understanding and acceptance of each other, and it actually possibly comes back to mortality again, the real thought we might never see each other again.
I think it was more a case of the importance of contact, especially in a rural situation.
I've been talking to my friends through Discord and Instagram for the most part, and we've been playing things like Minecraft.
More worrying about friends, and my mum, that is a bummer. She's in Sydney. She was going to visit at Easter and that all stopped, and my stepfather has Alzheimer's and his care stopped. So now we can't help her and she has no help there. So in that way, I feel isolated from being able to do anything about it at the moment.
And I think sort of keeping in contact with people and checking up on people is something important going forward.
The boys are next across to service station, they're very strict with me. If they didn't see me around for a couple of days, the following night they come and knock on the door. So if anything went wrong, they know about it, yeah. And same as the fire brigade down there. I know them all, so everybody keeps eye on me.
It's not a flat conversation like, you're on a screen, I'm on a screen.
Yeah.
But it's actually being with a real person in real life.
It's nice to kind of still have that connection with people, like still be talking. But it feels a bit empty in a way because you're not talking to them in person or you're not being around with them.
My dad and sister are in Tassie, so I do help them with groceries. They're high risk, so I can't see my acro friends.
My dad is considered a vulnerable person. He has immune disorders. So I've been putting off going on buses just because I don't want to risk getting any kind of illness and passing it on to my dad.
I guess I'm a little bit different to most people. I'm working in the health industry, and that means seeing a lot of patients, so kept me conscious of the distancing, kept me conscious of, how easy it is to contract a disease.
And if you get a bit of problem with your doctors, you ring them up and you've got to stand outside so they can come out and get you. I had to do that when medical sent up from Dover.
It was scary, moments of, of what ifs flashed past me, and was my mask on properly? Is my nose covered? Did I wash my hands properly? Have I cleaned the room properly? It was tiring, and I found that I became a little bit agitated.
I think it'll be something we'll always remember. It's sort of, and for a lot of people, I think it could become a defining time in their life.
I mean, I guess in a way this could kind of form who I am as a person in a few ways, in the sense I'm still, a teenager, so I guess it could kind of teach people to kind of cherish what you have.
I would really like to think that when we can be closer again, that we can really be closer again. How often have you not seen that you go to a restaurant or a cafe and you see people looking at the phone?
Just appreciating the relationships that you've got and the people that you know, and sort of appreciating the fact that there is a lot of people around who are willing to help.
I kind of feel that, or wish that we do learn from this COVID time, but more importantly, that not only learn about how to keep clean, but to be able to remember the moments where we related, and how we related to people, and how we helped people.
And actually that was interesting about my sister, who's in lockdown in Holland with her son, who's 11, and they are doing all this stuff together. And she said, and I said, how are you going to look back on this time? And she said, I'm going to look back on this time as having this amazing connection with my 11-year-old.